to Fairmont Road. With that being said, I want to have somebody to know they need to investigate that. I'm going to call your office and give you more information about that. Sure. My other concern is the people that you continue to see on the street. When you look at the street of Atlanta and the major parts of the city, you find people that look like my Maya sister, original one, the dog, Malcolm, anti-Malcolm, who represent the power and influence of a spirit and a soul. Now you got this Caucasian, Mr. Dan Imugard, a professor, Georgia State University. I went to Georgia State. Now what is it I'm saying? This professor, Caucasian, saying houses, race, and exclusion in the 21st century. What is he talking about? People that look like me in the 21st century don't even have access to homes, don't have access to opportunity. And we are the descendants from ex-slave Mr. Howard, Mr. Alex Warren. How can you have a mouth doing what he's doing by himself up here? I thank the mayor for the initiative he got for some housing. I thank the mayor for what he did to get some work for the young people. But what about the rest of y'all, Brother Lewis? We got you doing your part, but the rest of them not coming in collaboration. I sent you all emails for a whole year. That's why I haven't been here. I sent you emails about the conditions going on in my community. I'm going to say, what you going to do about that? I sent you the email. You don't even answer the email. Don't even want to support Miss Overstreet. But I'm here in the flesh of you. And I respect Mr. Trump. And I thank Mr. Trump. Because we continue to put these Democrats in office. He ain't did nothing for us since Barack. I voted for Barack the first time, the hell with him the second time. I greet you as I am, Mayor Matriarch Hotel.
Awesome. Thank you, Brother Muhammad. That's the only speaker for today. Today we have one presentation, and we have the Office of Sustainability and Resilience Quarterly Update. Resilience.
Good morning.
I apologize. We've also been joined by the Honorable Council Member Bone to my left.
Awesome. Good morning. Chandra Farley, Chief Sustainability Officer, and Deputy John R. Seidel, Deputy Chief Sustainability Officer for the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience. Where is the... Thank you, David. All right. So we restarted reporting to this committee last year. It was when City Council adopted the Clean Energy Resolution in 2019. That resolution included regular reporting to the City Utilities Committee. And so after 3 presentations last year, I think what we'll do this year, this is our first presentation, we'll have more of a broader overview, and then other quarters of this year we'll dive deeper into some of the activities of like our public-facing groups and specifically the progress on the Clean Energy Plan, which we'll cover at a high level today. So as a reminder, our office prioritizes science-based analysis informed by the community. So you will see through all of our plans and the reason for the Clean Energy Advisory Board's creation. So when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about resilience, and we talk about climate resilience now specifically, we thought this was a good way to really understand the pillars that are supporting and will support City of Atlanta's climate resilience strategy. So we've had a long evolution of plans, policies, and targets led by various iterations of sustainability and resilience offices here at the city. This year, and really over the past year, we have been focused on preparing a climate resilience plan and an action framework that will focus on climate resilience. So back in 2017, we had the Resilient Atlanta strategy. An action from that strategy was developing the Clean Energy Plan, which we are still in the midst of prioritizing and implementing. And moving forward, we will be taking components of updating the Clean Energy Plan, which included a provision to update every 3 years. So and that was meant to align with the regulatory utility cycle at the Public Service Commission. So as we develop this Climate Resilience Action Plan, it will include updates to our clean energy targets, but it will take a broader view of climate resilience to make sure that we are addressing things like emissions from transportation, which is our second largest source of emissions, as well as urban heat island, tree canopy, and other things. So where are we with Clean Energy Atlanta? When City Council adopted the Clean Energy Atlanta plan, they also adopted interim targets. So our next target is to be at 30% clean energy by 2025. We are about halfway there as of right now. What's really important to remember about our clean energy, which is really a clean electricity plan, is that our energy mix is Georgia Power's energy mix. That is who we get our electricity from. So whatever their energy mix is what ours is. Now what we are able to do, and what Deputy Seidel will come and talk about as we talk about our various policies and ordinances, including Solar Atlanta, there were 3 primary strategies for the City of Atlanta to achieve its clean energy goal. That was to invest more in energy efficiency, which not only saves the city money on its utilities, it's a job creator as well, and to procure more renewable energy. So the continued growth of our Solar Atlanta program is very important. We're still the leading municipality in the state for our Solar Atlanta program. And 3 was to buy renewable energy credits. We will, as a city, have to enter the renewable energy credit market. We are looking for innovative ways to do that. I don't want to buy wind from Oklahoma. I would rather us use our credits here locally in the state of Georgia and more directly in the city. So we will be looking at things with the passage of our last Solar Atlanta amendment, actually. We now officially have ownership of our environmental attributes for all of our Solar Atlanta projects, which means now the city actually has an opportunity to sell those credits. So that's a new thing for the city. We're working on that, and we will be able to use those dollars to reinvest in projects that will continue to push us forward towards our clean energy plan goals. And with that, I'll turn it over to Deputy Seidel.
So I wanted to give a shout out for those who joined us on for the city's first electric vehicle day, EV Day at City Hall. This was a focus on city employees, but had groups from all across departments and from the community join us, and Mayor Dickens for the launch of this event, where we had over 13 different electric vehicle models, ride and drive experiences for city employees, fleet, who utilize fleet vehicles, to be able to see the benefits and the multiple benefits and the federal opportunities that are available to be able to take advantage of for electrification, which helps drive not just our clean energy work, but also our climate action work. In terms of electric vehicles and charging infrastructure, it's not a chicken and egg scenario. Chargers are incredibly important to be able to support this electrification transition. And so when we look at the map of publicly accessible electric vehicle chargers, South, Southwest, and West Atlanta have very little access to EV charging, and so that is a priority for our office and our partners to expand as much electric vehicle charging infrastructure as possible to support an equitable transition to electric vehicles and the benefits of both health-wise and savings-wise that those bring. So we just listed a couple of the partnerships out there from Hertz Electrifies Atlanta, where we have here in Atlanta the largest EV rental to rideshare fleet, and they expect to add 4,000 electric vehicles, new electric vehicles to their rental and rideshare fleet. Working with companies like Tesla to be able to expand level 2 and level 3 charging, especially in those areas that have low access to level 2 and level 3 DC fast charging. And then I also lead our interdepartmental working group on electric vehicles, working with different operational departments to be able to look at opportunities, collaborate, create new partnerships for EV charging as well as EV purchasing, and taking advantage of the IRA elective pay for the city, where the purchases since 2023, we can save over $150,000 and make that back in elective pay for electric vehicle purchases and EV charging. One of the programs that Chandra was talking about to advance our climate action and clean energy work is our Solar Atlanta program. Currently, we have 26 sites, parks and recreation centers, watershed management centers, fire stations that have been installed, that are energized, that are producing clean energy for those facilities. But there's a lot more capacity both for looking at more solar projects as well as batteries in the future. And so this will continue to be something that we try to take the lead on as the City of Atlanta and set an example for our community by going solar at as many buildings as possible. Looking forward, so for this year, really focusing on sustainable infrastructure. So I talked a little bit about electric vehicles and how important EV infrastructure is. Right now, the City of Atlanta was a leader in passing one of the very first EV readiness ordinances in 2017. Since then, there have been other cities, other peer cities, even here in the Southeast, that have gone beyond EV capability and have dived into actually mandating a percentage of EV charging spots having chargers, not just having the ability, the conduit spacing, the electric panel spacing, to be able to install electric vehicle chargers, but actually having 1% to 2% of new spots, whether that's new buildings or expansion of garages and parking spots, to actually have electric vehicle charging stations involved and installed. We also are working on our sustainable building ordinance. We are one of the first cities to have a sustainable building ordinance, which really mandates green building and green building really in terms of LEED certified buildings. So for the City of Atlanta, new construction over 5,000 feet, that has to be LEED silver, new construction for all city-owned, those city-owned buildings. And that was leadership when it was first passed. But since then, there have been other, whether you're talking about Miami that has LEED Gold certified for their city buildings. We need an update to be able to meet these ambitious existential climate issues that we face. So updating our sustainable building ordinance and making it more ambitious, not just for new buildings, also existing buildings. We're also looking at solar permitting and trying to redesignate ourselves as a leader for solar permitting to make it as easy as possible for those who want to go solar, both for commercial and for residential. And so really aiming at that SolarSmart designation, aiming at gold to be a leader amongst our peers. You see the MLK Aquatic Center. This is just one of the projects that came from Solar Atlanta. 536 panels on site, which has resulted in thus far 148,000 metric tons of carbon offsets, and growing, because each day, right now on a sunny day like this especially, that will continue to grow. It's equivalent to about 21 homes of electricity, clean electricity use per year. And then with Midnight Basketball also saying, trying to put it in ways that people can understand, because when you get into megawatts, people's eyes can glaze over, and that's completely fine. So 25 quarts electricity used for a year. And it's also important to mention that a lot of these installations not just save the city funding and money over time, because that's the way it's structured, but it's also so the city can put solar panels on our buildings without having to pay up front for it. So making sure to also take into consideration the value that avoided construction costs, where the city would have to own and install and maintain those solar installations. And our SEPA with Cherry Street Energy currently we get to avoid all those construction costs that would come with if we owned it, not just upfront costs, but servicing and maintenance. And I'll pass it back to Chief Farley.
Awesome. So now we're going to turn to an update on a couple of community-facing programs, specifically Weatherize ATL. We talked a lot about this last year, lots of excitement. We are going to exceed our goal of doors knocked. The goal was 5,000. Sustainable Georgia Futures has already been out in various NPUs. They're doing a blitz of all NPUs canvassed starting back in September over the next week. And now we're really deep into the work of reaching out to people who completed the surveys, making sure they're homeowners, making sure they actually have permission to make the upgrades. So from now through August, we will be deep into, with our partners, National Association of Minority Contractors and Revalue.io, who is doing that work. One important thing to say about Weatherize, with the mayor's goal to reduce energy burden on 10% of most energy burdened households is a priority, but workforce development and minority contractor development in clean energy and energy efficiency has also been a priority of this program. So National Association of Minority Contractors has done a number of contractor outreach events where we have been able to talk to them about coming on to partner in the program, understanding the value of that there is a lot of work in the residential market, particularly here in this federal funding moment in the Inflation Reduction Act, where there's so much money being directed at homeowners and home improvement. So we're really excited about, I think we've had 4 to 6 contractors come through these 4 events that we've done with National Association of Minority Contractors over the last few months. So we're really excited about that aspect of Weatherize as well. Georgia Bright is our low moderate income solar leasing pilot. We are partnering with Capital Good Fund and Savannah. And as we've been learning about this, and you've seen Mayor Dickens, he has made clear to us on cabinet, if we are partnering on programs and projects that are available to the community, well, our employees are also the community, right? So we, Deputy Seidel and our partners at Capital Good Fund will be working on some messaging specific to City of Atlanta employees to take advantage of the Georgia Bright program. They were actually here tabling during EV Day last week and already received some interest. Also, always want to lift up that our urban agriculture and food systems team sits within, our director of urban agriculture and food systems sits within the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience, with part of that team also in Department of City Planning. So that's a unique setup, but quite frankly, really a great model for how our office and departments have to work together, as we are a mayor's office, executive office, setting policies, plans, and targets. That work is operationalized and institutionalized through the operating department. Just a reminder about the Fresh Food Access Map. The Urban Ag and Food Systems team and volunteers are out ground truthing that data every Thursday to support our goal to have 100% of residents within half a mile of fresh, nutritious food. We were at almost 85% of that goal, and Mayor's like, well, what about the other 15% of people? So now we're updating that goal to 100, but when we say within half a mile, if that half a mile, the people have to cross I-20, or they don't have a car, or there's no transit, then that's not actually access. So that's why that ground truthing of this map data is so important. And we've also been consistently over the last year reaching out to community with surveys through the Clean Energy Advisory Board, Sustainability Innovation Labs, any opportunity we have to put out a survey, and all of this information is helping us compile community-led and data-driven priorities that's going to inform that climate resilience action plan framework that we are talking about. So you'll see these numbers continue to tick up. And within the presentation that you have, you can read through the pillars and some of the quotes from community that we have gotten back about what they would really like to see the City of Atlanta prioritize as we embark on this next effort. And we hosted a Sustainability Innovation Lab last summer for external community partners. Well, we're going to do the same for city employees in our internal departments here in April as we kick off Earth Month. So we're super excited about that. And finally, I'm going to let Deputy Seidel close. We're all super excited about the World Cup and recently submitted our FIFA environmental plan. This was our second draft, so I'll let Deputy Seidel close on that.
Yeah, so as required by FIFA for all the 15 host cities for FIFA World Cup 26, working with our core departmental partners and our FIFA core partners, including MARTA, including ARC, as well as the Georgia World Congress Center, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where a lot of these FIFA-focused events are going to be happening. Our team worked on creating a plan for to meet FIFA's requirements for their environmental plans, as well as combined all of our existing programs, all of our existing sustainability, climate, waste diversion, sustainable procurement goals, and as required by FIFA, and existing plans and upcoming plans, because MARTA, for example, is creating a climate plan for their first climate plan. So, we're looking, 2 years out now for FIFA 26, and so right now this is a document that will become public and published by FIFA and combined with the human rights plan. And so, yes, an exciting opportunity for the City of Atlanta to work with its partners and show its example to be a leader on the world stage with the brightest lights in sports. So, very excited about it.
So I did have one other thing. I noticed and got the document for the City Utilities Committee goals for this year. So I took a look at those. Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience didn't have dedicated bullets, but wanted to pull out a couple from the other section so you could see specifically related to utilities. Like that is sustainability and resilience and work that obviously you can see here through our presentation that we focus on. So wanted to share, when we talk about utility bills, our commercial benchmarking ordinance that Deputy Seidel talked about, our Solar Atlanta program is really important. And for residents, in talking about ways to manage utility increases, our Weatherize program, the Georgia Bright program are really critical ways, as well as our formal interventions in front of the Public Service Commission across the street. We are served by Georgia Power, an investor-owned utility. They are regulated by the Georgia Public Service Commission, who makes all decisions on rates. As residents' rates go up, so do the city's utility rates. We saw that in the budget presentation, looking at 4 to 5% increases on our utilities. So investing in energy efficiency with shorter paybacks now for the city, procuring more renewable energy continues to be critically important. So just wanted to highlight that, and that is the last thing. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Commissioner Farley. Any questions from my colleagues? We'll start with Councilmember Wan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Farley, for the presentation. I'm glad you spent quite a bit of time talking about energy burden for families, particularly on the Weatherize program, and kind of echoing or reiterating the mayor's commitment and goal of, I think you said, there was a specific number, I think 10%.
10%.
Yeah, as you know, we've got a paper held in this committee that would establish a clean energy fund. It's an initiative that Councilmember Bakhtiari has been working on pretty tirelessly. These programs obviously require resources, and I don't know, have you had a chance to think through, or do you have a recommendation of what that incremental funding need might look like? in order to be able to reach the goal, the ambitious goal that y'all have set forward?
Yeah, so when we talk about reducing energy burden on 10% of most energy burden households, we're talking about 5-ish thousand households in the city of Atlanta. Some early estimates are that's a $400 million endeavor. Not all to be borne by the city of Atlanta, of course. That's why, again, intervention at the Public Service Commission is so important. So we are pushing for more energy efficiency programs. Also, with the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority and the Weatherization Assistance Program is no longer directly housed here at City of Atlanta or the Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority right now. So I've been invited to be on their council. So making sure that we're pulling from all of the resources that are available, in addition to the owner-occupied rehab program and Invest Atlanta, and then being able to understand what all those sources are, so then we can have a real look at what the city's contribution could be. Seeding the Clean Energy Fund is something that has been on the mayor's radar. That was something I supported in helping develop his campaign platform, so that has been a priority of his as well. Glad that Councilmember Bakhtiari and you have picked that up. So a couple of things that we're looking at. Energy and inability to afford utility bills is also a primary driver of displacement in the city of Atlanta. So as we're looking at other anti-displacement kind of funding, what opportunities are there to kind of capital stack, if you will. So like we have commercial capital stacks, our residents across the city need a dependable capital stack as well.
Well, I appreciate that feedback and your vision and goal on that. I think now's the time for us to kind of look at this as we establish the budget for 2025. I think we've got to start somewhere, and it may not be kind of at the big level and the big splashy level that the advocates would have us, but we do need to start in the context of just affordability, housing affordability in general. So I would ask that perhaps the three of us sit down again in light of the timing and try and come up with at least a starting point within the next 30 days so we can factor that into the budget preparation. But again, glad to hear you articulate the importance of this to the administration, the goal to seed it. I think now's the time for us to do it. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues? Well, I'll jump into the few I have. Thank you, Deputy Chief Sustainability Officer Sadell and Ms. Farley. My questions are around Lake Charlotte first. I know we spoke about the selling of credits, and I want to know where are we on the selling of credits at Lake Charlotte?
Thank you for the question. So right now we are in the process of getting our MOU signed between us and the Department of Parks and Recreation to be able to move forward. Of course, selling carbon credits is the first time the city is getting into that business. Chief Farley talked a little bit about the renewable energy credits as well. And so hopefully we're creating a model not just for the city being able to sell carbon credits to the market, but as well as renewable energy credits in the future. And so moving through that process.
So if it's going to be so innovative, I would like for y'all to add it to the conversation if possible, because we're actually doing it. The next question I had was around the 30% clean energy by 2025. The status is currently 15%. Do you see us getting to the 30% in the next 2 years? Or where can you predict we'll be?
So we're working right now on updating our pathway.
Okay.
And that pathway is going to have to include now the city entering into the renewable energy credits market, which is what we are talking about. So we are going to have to buy renewable energy credits to help meet that goal. And so connected to Lake Charlotte and finally having ownership of our environmental attributes from our Solar Atlanta program will give us a way to move towards that goal while also generating some dollars to invest in projects that will continue to help us meet that goal.
Thank you. The next question was around EV charging. the Southwest Atlanta hosts the airport. And so I know a lot of our council members, they're currently driving cars that charge up. So if there's any kind of way I can assist with this, and I just left DC, in which they talked about EV charging stations a lot up there. So that with the airport being there and the stuff we have, we need to prioritize the South Side.
Absolutely, and the airport has 301 accessible charging ports, because at the end of the day, you could say chargers, but charging ports is like what's actually plugged into your vehicle. So the airport, for sure. So taking out the airport, you look at West, Southwest, South Atlanta for public charging sites in general, and there's about 10 to 12 level 2 charging sites in all 3 of those regions combined, and 2 DC fast chargers. And so any and every program that we can work on, whether that's city-owned, whether that's third-party owned, whether that's right-of-way charging, for more accessible public charging, as well as serving for our fleet as we try to electrify as well, is going to be critical. And just to address your last question as well, most companies that have 100% clean energy goals, they do everything that they can energy efficiency-wise, everything that they can for on-site or just off-site, solar, wind, or whatever they define as clean energy, and then the rest of that gap is paid through renewable energy credits. So those that have met their 100% renewable energy goals already or very close, clean energy purchases are going to be a part of the strategy no matter what.
And thank you. And last question, you spoke about canvassing, and we talked about the doors. My question was around, do you know which application they're using? And is there any kind of way we can kind of like look at it? But that way I'm always canvassing, and I understand the applications a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. They started using Van.
That's what I thought they were using.
Yeah, so they started using Van, and as they went through that first phase of canvassing, really started to realize some of the other questions and feedback that they were wanting to get. So Van is supporting the canvassing effort, but when we actually get someone who answers the door, then there's the actual survey that we're collecting. So we had a short survey and then a long survey. So those things are working in concert with Van. But Sustainable Georgia Futures, who is leading our canvassing, they do monthly, what they call CGIM meetings, Climate Justice Education meetings. So those are open to the public. We always post those on our social media. But I know that Sustainable Georgia Futures team would be happy to chat with you and share more about the data that they're gathering from the canvassing.
In my previous life, I was a data director for Hillary Clinton, so I'm always into that. So thank you again. Yes. Any other questions from my colleagues? I appreciate you. Thank you again. If you don't have anything for us, we will continue to move on. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So we will, Mr. John, well, we don't have a quorum right now, do we? We do. We got 4. So, Mr. Johnson, we can jump into the communications and the consent agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This takes us to our consent agenda, Section G, Communications. Item number 124C 5043, a communication from Mayor Andre Dixon appointing Ms. Chiquita Smith to serve as a member of the Solid Waste Appeals Board. This appointment is for a term of 4 years.
Is Ms. Smith here today? Hey, Ms. Smith, how are you? We'll bring you on down if you don't mind joining us for a second. Tell us a little about you and why you want to serve on this board. Yes, ma'am. Have a little fun up there.
Good morning, I'm Chiquita Smith.
Good morning, Ms. Smith.
So,
Tell us a little about yourself and why you would like to serve on the board.
okay, well, I live locally here in the city of Atlanta. I moved here in 1999 and have only lived in the city of Atlanta. I started off living in Summer Hill, and then I moved in an area that's nearby. I think it's called High Points Estates, but back in the day, I think it was called Lovejoy or something like that. And I currently live now in the Buckhead area.
It's called Joyland.
Joyland.
That's
I'm
District
sorry.
12. I got you. Joyland.
I'm not a native of Atlanta, but I've been here long enough that I feel like I am. And I currently live in the Buckhead area. I am a speech-language pathologist, so I own a therapy company here in the city where we provide speech and occupational therapy for children who have special needs. We primarily only serve children who are below the poverty line and and who need a little bit more support.
Any questions from my colleagues? Been moving properly second. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Smith, you get the opportunity to really have an impact on the city of Atlanta in this role. Please always speak truth to power while you're in it. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity.
Yes.
So colleagues, I would ask, I think this is only the second appointment to this board that's been made, and it's important that we stand this board up. I believe there's already a backlog of cases, and I anticipate we'll probably get a lot more once it's stood up, and in advance of our potential conversation about solid waste fees later this year, I think it's really important for us to have this ready to go once that hits as well. So just if you haven't got with your paired council district appointment person, please do.
Thank you. Thank you again. Congratulations.
Thank you for choosing me. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Please proceed.
Next is to Section H, ordinance for first reading, item number 2, 24-01133, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2024 Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes budget in the amount of $478,753.00 to transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriations and add funds to the Whittier Mill Sanitary Sewer Improvement Projects and for other purposes. Item number 3, 24-01134, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute the Fourth Amendment to agreement listed herein, annual contract for municipal solid waste with Republic Services of Georgia, Limited Partnership, and Genesis Testing Services Incorporated, doing business as 3GNL joint venture on behalf of the Department of Public Works, to authorize the payment of a rate of $47.51 per ton base rate for municipal solid waste disposal services, retroactively effective March 1st, 2024. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 4, 24-01135, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor as need to execute the Second Amendment to the ground lease agreement with NCWPCS NPL 27-year Sites Tower Holdings, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, by and through CCATT LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, its attorney in fact, for the lease of certain city-owned property having an address of 2630 Ridgewood Road and located in land lot 231 of the 17th District of Fulton County, Georgia. Said lease amendment being for the purpose of increasing the area of the leased premises, waiving the requirements of Section 2-1547 of Article 10, the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, and for other purposes. This takes us to our regular agenda. Section I, ordinance for second reading. Item number 5, 24-01105, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2024 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in amount of $4,400,000.00 to transfer funds from watershed reserves for the appropriations and add funds to the asphalted concrete pavement milling and resurfacing project and for other purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anything from the department?
Good morning, Chairman Lewis, other committee members, Reginald Wells, Assistant Commissioner, Watershed Management. Yes, sir, this item is for us to fund a contract that's coming at the next item related to asphalt paving restoration. I ask for your approval, please.
Moving properly second. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. This takes us to Section J, Resolutions. Item number 6, 24R3345, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for IFB DWM 2302-1230235, annual contract for asphalted concrete pavement milling and resurfacing with SBI and HFJ Joint Venture LLC on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $7,088,662.10. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the department?
No, again, it's a critical service that we need. Ultimately, anytime we've impacted the right-of-way, in particular the roadway, through the course of our daily operations, there's a desperate need to ensure that we're able to restore the roadway back accordingly and leave it better than we found it.
We have a question from Councilmember Juan.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the staff notes, it notes that there should be an IPRO report with this, and there's not. Do we
Yes,
have
sir.
it?
Councilmember Juan, the IPRO report is attached to legislation. Do you not see it? Is it attached?
Looked both in Elms as well as the meeting agenda. Okay, I
can forward you the IPRO report if you like.
yeah, that'd be great, please, thanks.
It's been moved and properly second, moved by Councilmember Westmoreland, second by Councilmember Boone. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
Colleagues, can y'all wait just 1 second? I'd rather have this be on consent, so if I can just take a quick glance at this once it comes to me. Do you want to move to the next one and then come back?
I think we've opened a vote. So what do we do here? So I'll make a motion to postpone by, well, is there a, do you all want to postpone by unanimous consent? No objections? The ayes have it. Let's move forward, Mr. Johnson.
Item number 7, 24R3346, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise the second renewal option for agreement FC 10469-C for water distribution system rehabilitation and improvement services with Rockdale Pipeline Incorporated Integral Municipal Services Corporation joint venture on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 1 year effective from April 9th, 2024 through April 8th, 2025, an amount not to exceed $4,000,000. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
So move. It's been moving. Anything from the department?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the support.
Okay, it's been moving properly second by Councilmember Westmoreland. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, we have one item coming off held. It requires a substitute. May we have a motion to bring forth a substitute?
So move. Second by Councilmember Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute before you. The substitute adds the vendor information, reduces the dollar amount of the agreement to $11 million, and attaches the IPRO report. Item number 8, 23R3169, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute agreement listed herein, Program Management Services Team with Stantec SG Joint Venture on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options in the amount of $11,000,000. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the department?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chairman Lewis and other council members. I'm Yolanda Broom from the Office of Procurement Planning and Strategic Sourcing for the Department of Watershed Management. The purpose of the legislation before you is to execute an agreement with Stantec SG Joint Venture to serve as the Program Management Services Team for the Department of Watershed Management. Since 2001, the department has utilized the PMST to support management of capital projects and maintain compliance with 2 federally mandated consent decrees. The department currently has over $1 billion of capital projects underway. The contract shall be for an initial term of 3 years with 2 one-year optional renewals in an amount not to exceed $11 million to fund said services. The vendor shall provide professional program management services to assist DWM with the implementation of current capital improvement program addressing consent decree requirements through the Clean Water Atlanta Act. In addition to the project management services, PMST also provides other specialized technical support, analyses, industry knowledge, and utilizes best practices to support DWM in achieving its strategic initiatives. The agreement has already been funded in accordance with Ordinance 22-0-1882 in an amount not to exceed $10,100,000. This concludes my remarks, subject to your questions.
Any questions from my colleagues? One from Councilmember Shook.
Thank you. Why only one bidder?
So that's a difficult question to answer, Councilmember Shook, but I'll answer it this way. We have sort of 2 or 3 things that have come together as a perfect storm. First, we're in a situation where it takes almost 9 months to get a signed contract. And so for vendors who do this kind of work, they can go down to Savannah, go to some other municipalities who also have $1 billion plus in consent, in CIP programs and in consent programs, and they can get work there that only takes 3 to 4 months to get a signed contract. Secondly, we send out a list to DOP that had probably 35 vendors who do this type of work. DOP currently, and I hope there's somebody in the room from DOP, but DOP currently utilizes the information that's in Oracle. The problem with some of the information in Oracle is that the people who set up those profiles for companies who do this type of work, those people are long gone. And so sometimes as our DOP personnel is sending out these notices, those folks are never getting it. It's just going to internet land someplace. And then thirdly, I'll say what's really creating the perfect storm for this is simply that we have a vendor in place that has been doing this work for some time, and so for others to compete with that, they feel like they're unable to compete. Now, that's their problem and not ours, because this is open for competition. We certainly wish they had submitted bids, but we put this out twice, and we only got 1 bidder.
I appreciate that. I see the procurement chief here. I'm curious to see if he has anything he'd like to add, and specifically I'd like to ask about the 9-month period. And I'd like to ask if either of you have an opinion as to if some of these activities were split up into smaller contracts, maybe we'd attract more business.
What's the scopes?
So there are 4 tasks that the current PMST is doing for us, and those tasks are so interdependent on one another. They're looking at costing and estimating for our CIP projects. They're dealing with consent decree scopes of work. They're dealing with 3 or 4 different softwares that are utilized by DWM. It would be difficult for us to split up the 4 tasks among 4 different joint ventures, let's say, to do this work collaboratively.
Jadid Majumdar, Chief Procurement Officer for City of Atlanta. So talking about this contract, we actually issued a bid last year, and we had to tweak the scope so that we canceled that bid, and then we had to tweak the scope and reissue the bid. So what we did was, through this process, we actually had a pre-conference call with our suppliers. And then not only that, we also held an additional call where we invited all the suppliers to ask questions. And I was personally, present in that particular meeting. So having said that, we gave suppliers enough time to bid on it. At the end of the day, when the bid closed, there was only one supplier that bid on it, and that was Stantec. So we went through every aspect of procurement process that's allowed by procurement code and policies to make sure that we run a fair, transparent, open, competitive process. Now, coming to the point of reaching out to the suppliers, we have suppliers that are in our database. So when we issue the bid, we actually issue a public notice, not only in the state of Georgia website, but also in LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those are posted. So it wasn't a question of suppliers not seeing the bid, it was a question of suppliers responding to the bids. And we did have a good response from the suppliers when we did the pre-conference call, as well as the educational session that we had for the suppliers.
Well, I don't mean to cast any aspersions on Stantec or their predecessors. I don't know where we'd be without them. I mean, they're basically part of the department. But this is starting to look an awful lot like a Catholic marriage. And so an assertion was made that one of the problems might be the fact that some of these companies whose interests we might otherwise could go to Savannah and get a 9 months worth of review done in 4. What's your comment?
No, if you take a look at the process cycle time, we ran a very tight process, but we also accounted for extra time for suppliers to bid effectively. There are instances when some of these suppliers bid on other contracts, but this is a significant contract too, compared to other counties and other municipalities. So, we are doing a postmortem to see what exactly we can do differently next time when it comes around to make sure we foster more competition. But at the same time, we have to be fair to the suppliers that are bidding on this contract. Just because it's only one supplier, we cannot keep on canceling the contract to make it more competitive. We gave suppliers a chance, and it's one supplier that bid on it.
And last question, why the change in the dollar amount?
Change in dollar amount, I will get back to you with the exact cost. Yeah, let me get back to you on that exact cost.
Councilmember Shook, the amount that budget amount was actually approved before the 2023 solicitation went out. And so our plan is to come back with a budget amendment maybe in the second, hopefully third year of this contract. So initially when we put it out, we were looking at, I think our burn amount is about $1.3 million. So we were looking at a budget of $8 million per year. That's what the original $24 million was. But we realized we already had an ordinance where we had approved $11 million. And so we want to start there, but we will have to come back for an additional budget amount.
Thank you.
Anything else from my colleagues? Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. time discrepancy here because, I mean, you're saying 4 months, I'm hearing 9 months from the department. So I think we just need to dive into, I don't want to do that today on camera, but
Correct, yes.
I do think that is part of, when we talk about duration of procurements, we got to really be honest and upfront about when clocks are starting. Second question I have is, what troubled me is I also heard that there were a list of 30, upwards of 30 potential prospect bidders for this, and then there, if we broadcast this out, it's only as good as the contact information that we have in our database. So is there a reconciliation that happens when, you know, we want to encourage departments to give us potential bidders because that they are on the ground attending conferences. They actually know who could qualify. But so is there a reconciliation process between, again, the list that they provided versus who was sent and what contact information was used, and then who actually bid as a way of improving the procurement process as well?
No, that is a critical piece. So we constantly update our database, the supply database, to make sure we have the right information. So as and when we get that information, we update it. But not only that, when a bid is launched, it goes out to all the suppliers that are mapped to that particular category, and that could go out to the suppliers individual that has a contact, but also on LinkedIn, Twitter, State of Georgia website, as well as other social media platform. So we do, we go all the way out to make sure it's communicated. But to answer your question, we do update the database as and when we see there is a change in name for that supplier.
Okay. I think there's opportunity there to continue tightening. What I would ask in your postmortem on this particular contract is, for me at least, mapping if hopefully someone has that list of contractors that y'all provided, mapping that and just going of the 35, 5 of them were bad email addresses, the other 30 responded, and just only 3 of them bid. I mean, I don't know what that number looks, so that y'all can take a deep dive into what happened there, and what processes can be put in place. Again, I want a operation that encourages our staff members to bring potential bidders, and there's nothing more discouraging than I brought you a bunch and nothing happened with it. So let's figure out a way that we can, again, account for those 35 that were submitted, but then think about what that means in terms of process improvement.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll be more than happy to work with the user agency on that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And they asked most of the questions I want to ask around procurement, but if she's saying 9 and you're saying 4, and it's been an issue before you got here, Mr.
Lewis, I'm not sure why she's saying 9. We have in Oracle, we have data to prove when it's done. But again, it's an opportunity to correct, to make sure we recalibrate and have one number to report to the council as well as to the general public.
I'm willing to bet she'd tell you why she's saying 9. I'm willing to bet she'd tell you why she's saying 9. If you want to hear why she's saying 9, she'd tell us.
As the CPO mentioned, this project went out in October, so that's when the time started, as Councilmember Juan alluded to earlier. So October, November, December, January, February, March, we're already at 6.
Okay.
We're not going to get an awarded signed contract in the next few days. This process is probably going to take another 60 to 90 days. That equals 9 months.
Okay. So I told you, I thought she'd come over and tell you, because she was so specific with that date. And I want to say thank you. I know we're going to work this out. And I know the building of procurement, the base, is growing. I just saw the huge event you did at C.T. Martin, and we're trying to partner and do something like that at Roselle Fan because we got to grow the bidders. Folks in the city of Atlanta, they want to apply for these contracts. They don't know how to. You taught them last week at C.T. Martin. You're going to teach them at Roselle Fan, and we're going to keep on growing. But I believe that 9 months. It's been moving properly. It's been moving properly. Second, can we please open? And now we're discussing it. Is discussion finished?
Mr. Chair, there's no motion on the floor, but the motion will be to approve on substitute.
So I so move that we move it on, that we approve this on substitute. Second by Councilmember Juan. Can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. Items favorable on substitute. This takes us back to Section J, resolutions. Item number 6, where there's a motion currently pending on the floor.
And so because the motion is already pending on the floor, we go right back into discussion. The motion was moved by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland. It was seconded by Councilmember Lewis. And so we'll open up discussion now. Thank you. We'll open up discussion now. Councilmember Juan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So colleagues, we did get the iPro report. It is clean, so I'm supportive of the motion. We're ready to move on this.
It's been moved. Mr. Johnson, any other discussion for this? Mr. Johnson, can you please, it's been moving properly second, can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. Items favorable. Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
This meeting, well, I got some announcements. I apologize. It's been, I have a few remarks. If I don't have anything from my colleagues, I'd like to say, if you have not, similar to Councilmember Juan said earlier, if you've not made your appointment to the Solid Waste Appeals Board, please do so. DPW will be providing an update to the cost study for street-based sanitary services and general common good sanitary services at our next meeting. Lastly, the City Utilities Committee will be scheduling a work session for Thursday, March 28th at 11 a.m. to discuss proposed updates to the post-development stormwater ordinance. Mr. Johnson will be sending this out to calendar invites shortly. Anything from my colleagues? Meeting adjourned.